What up, witches, and welcome to Witchin Bitchin, a podcast. I'm your host, Darren.
And I'm Vicky. How are you all today? Hope you're doing really well. I keep going up an octave too.
But it's...
Woo, yeah. What is that?
I don't know. You tell me.
I don't know. I do it. Do you know what? I actually do it outside of this too. I've realized when I say hi and bye to people, it goes.
Hi.
Yeah.
Bye.
It's like, hi, bye.
Oh, I wonder what that is. Maybe we can
Yeah, I don't know what
deconstruct
it
that
is.
one day and
We
work
might
out
have to.
what that is.
Yeah, what this higher octave is. But anyway, I really hope you're all having a lovely day, whatever you're doing.
I am having a lovely day. Thank you for
Good.
asking. So,
I'm glad.
Now, for those that have been avid listeners of ours, you will remember way back when, in the very beginning, the wee early hours of this
Yes.
podcast, that we did a competition with Sasha Graham, and we had a winner by the name of Laurie, who we spontaneously pulled on camera, and we announced that she won the prize, and then I surprised her with inviting her onto our show. Well, she's finally dug deep and had the confidence to come on the show. So I'm going to give her a quick introduction. So Witchin Bitchin fangirl, residential cleaner, and small-time footloose chaos witch, Laurie is originally from a small town in Lancashire, England, living in Perth, WA, and in the early days of embracing her inner witch, looking forward to contributing to the witchy world. So can you please make her feel welcome? Here's Laurie.
Yay! Hello! How are you all today?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you for asking. Every time, I absolutely love it. And I do answer, and I'm sure everybody else does too.
See, I told you people answer me.
Do you know what I do when you say, I hope you're really, really well? I'm like, I'm actually shit. Thanks for asking. Just to be that one person that gives you a negative response.
It's all right. Okay, we're going to accept all our emotions. It's fine.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. I'm fangirling out, to be honest. But yeah, I'm really excited to be here.
Good. Yeah. I'm so glad. We're so excited to have you.
Finally.
No, it's good. Everything happens in its own time, and it's perfect when it's there. So no, it's great. So do you want to get into the first, as we do in all of our interviews, kind of thing? Let's do it. Go on. You know it's coming.
I
do. So how would you describe a modern witch? What's your personal definition? It doesn't have to be an overarching anything. It's just what you
And I'm going to be writing it down and judging you accordingly. No, I'm just
correct.
kidding.
Correct. And if you don't get all the ticks, no.
No.
It's just what it means for you. So,
well, to me, a modern day witch is somebody who embodies choice, breaks boundaries, seeks to transform, like Megatron out, does some unlearning to relearn, and steps into like the unknowing to know a little bit. Crafts life with intention and learns, accepts, but still chooses to be free.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
This is like the most comprehensive answer we've had.
I know, that's what I'm thinking.
I don't know if you picked up on it, Vicky, but there was a little bit of Carl in there. There was a little bit of Fiona in there. There was a little bit of Stacey in there. There was a bit of Sasha in there. There was literally a little bit of everyone that we've had on the show.
That.
A little bit of the boys with the fairy, like how the fairy traditions and what they practice. Like obviously studied up before today's chat.
Well,
but it was also really, but you could also tell that a lot of that was also heartfelt as well. That's something that you have felt or have, I guess, has happened as a part of your journey a little bit as well.
Absolutely. And this podcast has been a big part of my journey. Like listening to you guys just talk and laugh and explore. Yeah, it's a lot of a lot of shit, but a lot of good. Like it's aligned with me, and I think many others as well. And it's just been a part of my journey that has been solely. Every time I visit, every time I listen, I've had the same outcome, which is learning and thinking from a different perspective. And that's what I really love. And you guys do an amazing job. Amazing. I'm so grateful for you both.
Oh, thank you.
Kudos. Wow. I mean, not kudos. Sorry. Ditto. It goes the other way as well.
Yeah.
Like we're thankful and grateful that we have listeners like you who have stuck around for the long haul, because that's what keeps us going. And, you know, because we want to make sure that it's always fresh and exciting, and it makes our repeat listeners come back again and 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 again. Anyway, I'll stop now.
And again.
Yeah, and again.
And again. So moving a bit further on from that, how I know Darren mentioned a little bit in your bio, but how do you, I guess, identify, or what is, I guess, for want of a better word, label that you kind of use?
Well, some days I'm green.
Yep.
Some days I'm grey. I suppose it depends on what type of circumstance I find myself in.
Yeah.
As to what I shift to.
Yeah.
Shape shift to.
Yep.
Chaos magic is something that I can identify with, but also pull away from if I want to. Yeah. Because that's like one of the core principles of chaos magic. It's mind-bendingly beautiful. And chaos itself is like it's a word that has never changed. I think the origin of the word was the same as it still stands today, which is an interesting thing in itself. But as I understand chaos, it's like an unmeasurable space within ourselves that explores potential and flexibility, and that and the ability to shapeshift with circumstance.
Yeah.
Well, here we go. From the dictionary definition, we have chaos is a noun, complete disorder and confusion. So in physics, it's the property of a complex system whose behavior is so unpredictable as to appear random, owing to great sensitivity to small changes in conditions, or the formless matter supposed to have existed before the creation of the universe. That's the chaos. So then, just as a question, if we could delve a little deeper, I'm a first-time listener, and I have no idea what chaos magic is. What, in your opinion, or in what you've learned, or what you've, adopted, like the principles and things like that, what would be your nugget, like elevator pitch version of what is chaos magic in simple terms?
How would you describe? I suppose that the easiest thing to compare it to would probably be eclecticism. The similarities are like freedom to adopt what works, and it's a results-based practice. The difference is, I suppose, is eclectics adopt multiple systems that they believe to be true, whereas chaos use belief as a tool. And you might have heard this on Assassin's Creed, Black Flag. Nothing is true, but everything is permitted. That's something that Aleister Crowley, and he's one of the influential people in chaos magic, explores that as well. But I guess the 6 principles include avoidance of dogmatism.
Yep.
Like keeping an open mind to different possibilities. There's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yep.
And just approaching life with that attitude, I suppose, and your practice. Personal experience is paramount. So I find that listening to people's conclusions too much inhibits me from developing my own conclusion.
Yeah, definitely.
So using your personal experience to move forward equips us to perceive our environment fully.
Yeah,
it's funny that you say that too, because it was one of the things that stopped me from being a practicing witch for so many years. I was I used to read books and books and books and books, and then when people would talk about like for example, feeling the energy when you cast a circle, and how it was supposed to feel. And they've already given me what it's supposed to feel like. And then when I cast a circle and I'm like, well, I don't feel what they described. So does that mean I did it wrong? And then I'm like, well, I'm just not going to cast a circle. Or then like if you're doing meditation and they say, this is how it should feel when you meditate. And then because I didn't feel that, I'm like, does that mean I'm not meditating? Like, and so I understand what you're saying because that actually hinders a lot of people for actually giving something a go, or even just having that personal gnosis of just doing and having, you know what I mean? Getting that
actually
personal experience.
That is creating that action. That's the thing that stops us a lot of times from that action, is that we might think, oh, I'm doing it wrong because I don't feel exactly the same as somebody else. And I think it's also that we don't begin to mold our opinions based purely on somebody else's because they've come to that conclusion, and you kind of follow that way, and then you keep following it and think, hang on, that actually wasn't my opinion, or I just kind of went along with it. So I think that's a really great aspect to it.
And definitely. It touches on other things too. I mean, even when you talk about like, for devotion to deity or whatnot, things like that as well. Like dogmatic traditions are all about, this is the way that you devote yourself to the higher power. And if you don't devote this way, then you're a bad practitioner of whatever religion that you're in. And then it's like, so that whole thing of like, you do things because you were told to do them, not because you feel that it's the right thing to do for yourself.
And it's also then it's not authentic then either. Like it's not an authentic practice. You're not actually feeling it because you're just doing it because you have to, kind of thing. Or
like you've got to stick to the rules.
That's right. So you lose that individuality, and I think that's something that we often forget about when there's different traditions and things like that, is that we are all completely different, and what you believe is all completely different. None of them are wrong. It's just that it's all different because we're different people, and that's
even if we did believe in the same thing, our experience is going to feel different, and we're going to get something different out of that experience. Even if we share the same experience, verbatim same experience, we're all going to experience it differently.
Absolutely.
Because there's nothing like that's, and I guess this is kind of the whole point of chaos, is like, I mean, whenever someone says chaos, do you know what I actually picture? Tell me if you get the reference. It's a movie reference. So if you place your hand as a hieroglyphic, and if I was to drop a drop of water here, where do you think it's going to fall? If I was to place a drop of water on the top of my hand, where do you think it would fall?
Down there.
So down the back of the hand.
Yeah.
So obviously, if I had water here, I'd actually do it. And then and then you dry the thing, and then say, if I was to drop it again, where would it go next?
I don't know.
Because it could go anywhere. You have little imperfections of the skin. There's little hairs. There's a list. Do you know what movie I'm getting this from?
I know. Do you know what? That's why I was really slow to answer all the questions, because I see my brain's going like, where do I know that from? What is that from?
Where's it from?
I don't know.
Jurassic Park.
Ian
Malcolm, the character of Ian Malcolm, is a chaotician. So he's a mathematician, but he's a chaotician. So chaotician is someone who believes in the concept of chaos, and everything is chaotic. Nothing is predictable. Nothing is fixed. Nothing is like, you can't just say this is going to be verbatim of what's going to happen next, because the whole basis of life is that life is chaotic. That's the only constant in life is change, right? And taxes.
It depends where the focus is, right? So if you focus on the probability, it's one thing, but if you focus on the possibility, then it's a completely different. There's no limitation. Limitation.
I'm liking this conversation already.
Yes, me too.
So juicy. And there's so many different tangents we can take this as well.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
We love a good tangent.
Oh yeah. Next minute, it's like a 5-hour episode.
That's it. We don't need openings with multiple tangents.
Obviously, you've arrived at chaos magic, but let's rewind the timeline a little bit. So, based on your personal practice and how that's evolved, so how did you first get into witchcraft? Where did you start, and then how did you get to here?
I didn't know I was a witch consciously until this time last year, perhaps a little bit later, not even a year, maybe 11 months. The realization for me was like a punch in the face. That's the only way I was just shocked. I was just shocked that something could have existed all my life that completely aligns with me and I didn't know that it was there.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. It was like, I felt mixed emotions. I was like, well, I knew 100% it was it. And then I was angry.
Yeah,
then
I was going to say, like, what? How did that make you feel? Because, like, there's a lot of, I guess, stigma, and there's like two sides of the story. Like, how did that actually feel when you did kind of make that realization?
It's empowering. It's empowering. Yeah? But at the time, it was like a slap across the face. Yeah. But it's I think we shouldn't remove that bit when I said I was angry.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. So let's explore it and unpack it, though.
Yeah.
What we love about a candid conversation, because what you've just said may be hitting exactly what someone else is experiencing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like we put it, I guess we're always constantly kind of putting it in an empowering, positive kind of light.
But sometimes we do get angry. Like, I mean, to validate what you just said, the first time I started, because I was brought up, as you know, I was brought up a hardcore Catholic. I went to Tuesday school classes every Tuesday. I had to go to mass every Sunday. All the people that we knew were all Catholic. We went to midnight mass, all that other stuff. And then when I delved into this world, like, I felt like I had to, like, and I didn't go straight into witchcraft. No. I dabbled through all forms of Christianity first. And then I was aware of things like meditation, and I was watching shows that like The Craft, but I kind of thought that was devil worship because
there's that you know, the beliefs that you have, like they shape. Yep.
And for me, like, bring it back to your aha moment, like for me, it was literally like I would always go into these little witchy stores out of nothing more than blind curiosity. What is it that's in these stores? Like, so that's when I went into Spellbox. Like, I went in there a few times and I was always in there, but I always felt like are they going to know that I'm not one of them kind of person? Like, I was just purely there for
just
curiosity, just to gawk at the freaks. I'm calling myself out on this. I just wanted to gawk at the freaks that believed in this weird hocus pocus shit.
Yep. Who are these weirdos?
And it wasn't until I walked in there and they were the most loveliest ladies.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, they're not really as freaky as I thought they were. And then I was kind of looking around the shop, and it wasn't until literally, it's still here from when the last time we recorded, I picked up Sons of the Goddess.
Oh, yeah.
by Christopher Penczak. And I literally started flicking through the pages, and I even read the little blurb on the back. And I was like, holy shit, like this actually resonates with me on such a weird level. So I'm like, I straight away bought it. I had to buy it like there and then. And then when I read it, I was like, oh. And then it kind of, because I was interested in it, I was then still angry at myself because of the whole thing of, well, what are my parents going to think? Yeah. What are people at school going to think? Like, I instantly thought that because I've read this one book that I'm going to have this word witch stamped across my forehead and that people will know.
They're going to know straight away.
The next time I go into church, the priest is going to like drag me into confession, or like I had all these thoughts going through my head as a teenage boy.
Yeah.
And so I understand the anger response.
Yeah.
Because like you then feel like, am I now being untruthful to myself? Am I being untruthful to my parents? Am I being untrue? You know what I mean?
There's and then also kind of that thing of like, why am I like this? Like, why am I a witch when I've grown up with all of this? It's like, why me kind of thing. Like, is there that kind of aspect to it a little bit as well?
I'm not sure that completely resonates with me. I think it was more like I was angry that there were all this vital information
that you had no access to.
That had been completely, it felt like it'd been hidden from me my whole life, by making witches appear to be something that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like through Hollywood.
Well, we all go, I think we all go through that as well, because it's that whole thing of, I mean, patriarchal society doesn't want us to know about these things because patriarchal society says you follow instructions.
Yeah.
And as witches,
it's the complete opposite.
Witches are the opposite. We believe in a matriarchal society of the collective, because patriarchy is one leader, multiple followers.
Yeah, that's
hierarchy sense. Yeah. Patriarchy, and I'm not talking about patriarchy meaning the Pope necessarily, or things like that. Any form of patriarchal society is that. Matriarchal society is about the collective.
Yeah.
So if you think, even as men always have to be the top dog. Women, it's all about equality, and it's all about working as one, and it's all about sharing the wealth and all of that. So in a matriarchal society, if you look at like tribes in Africa and stuff that still operate in a matriarchal sense, like it's all about the collective. You do everything for the collective. Nothing is about self-serving.
Yeah, so raise the children together, and the whole it takes a village kind of thing.
Exactly.
That kind of thing.
So I think that the feeling of feeling angry that this is something that you've been robbed of is perfectly valid, because a lot of us would have gone through that or are still going through that today.
Yeah. Like, and there's this quote by a French philosopher. The only way to deal with an unfree world is by becoming so incredibly free that your existence is an act of rebellion. That your very existence is an act of rebellion. Yeah. And I feel like that's what that embodiment of a witch represents, like, as well. Like,
well, I mean, we are, like, truth be told, like, even when we look at historical witches or people that were burned for being witches, not all of them were, some of them were, some of them weren't. But even if we look at that, like, realistically, they were radical thinkers for their time.
Yeah.
They were always pushing the envelope. They wanted to have free thought. They wanted to have free practice. They didn't want to have to follow the flock.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of them
conform.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So whereas today, obviously, to burn someone at the stake would be a massive human rights violation.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if that was still a thing.
Well, I mean, there is. In some places you can, still hear about it and things like that. I mean, not at all to the same extent or anything like that, but you would hope that it's met with them a lot different than what it was back then.
Yeah. But I guess, so how has it evolved since obviously that first moment and to get to now? Like, what has your journey been like? Like, who have you been reading? What have you been doing?
Well, God, there's just too much to mention. But honestly, I've delved into absolutely all sorts. I was pondering the Satanic Church. I was having a look at the 11 laws of the Satanic Church. Every single one of them resonated with me in that moment because I felt like I needed to be defensive about everything.
Yeah.
So I met life with that.
Yeah.
I've always been into natural alternatives to medicine. Ever since I can remember. And that comes from my nan. And my nan was always like, we'd fall, we'd get a scrape on the knee, she'd get some unscented soap, brown sugar, vinegar, whack it all together, put it over our cuts, and it would draw out all the dirt or whatever. But also there's an element of, I believed that my nan was putting this ointment on me, so I believed that everything was going to be okay. But she called it a magic cream.
Yeah, see? That's
Have you ever point blank asked your nan if she's a witch?
I told her that I was going on a podcast. She was like, "What's a podcast?" I was like,
Nan.
I love it.
So I explained that to her. And I was like, I'm gonna actually try and speak about you, which is weird because I've not like put it in all my notes, so it's funny how she's come up. But I'm gonna like tell a little bit about you, I think. And she was like, "Oh, don't be doing that. They don't like witches on there." I laughed. I was like, "Do you know what the podcast is called, Nan?" She was like, "What?" "Witchin Bitchin." She went, "It never is."
Oh, your nan is cute. Let's do a shout out. Hi, Nan.
Hi,
Nan. You're gonna have to send her this recording. So I mean, you might have to teach her how to watch it or listen to it, but that's okay.
Well, she's just got herself a laptop, so.
Awesome.
Oh, see, there we go. That should be right.
So on some level then, do you feel that there was a certain element of like always being surrounded by magic or around even the folk magic? Because I know it's very prevalent in the UK. Folk magic exists whether you like it or not.
Yeah. In the very things that we say do. And like, I do believe that it's surrounded me maybe from my nan. She used to take us on fields of dandelions at the right time of year.
Yeah.
To pick the dandelions, to make a wish and watch it until it lands.
Yeah.
So I guess that's just one example of it always being there. I mean, my mum has a friend, and I didn't see her for years, and I've not spoken to her for years, but she gave me my first stone, my first crystal.
Beautiful.
And it was, I only found this out later, but it was a purple agate. Yeah. And I kind of like had its little box, and I had its like little tissue, and I'd put it on my windowsill, not knowing exactly, like with the moon and everything, not active, like consciously knowing. I used to meditate and not even know what meditation was.
Yeah. That's like, it. It's like when you start to look back at different things, it's like it's always there.
Yeah.
Perhaps didn't have the language for it, or
the terminology.
Yeah. And usually I think that's the biggest thing, because like for me it was always like I didn't have that big aha shock moment, because I was very lucky. Like my mum, I think I mentioned a few times, like she refused to have me baptized and all the rest of it, because she said it was my choice, and she was always the alternative and all the rest of it. So I kind of it was just a progression. And I think I even said that it was like wasn't until I watched Fiona Horn doing an interview on like a music show that I had the actual language for what it was called. And then it's like, oh, okay, that's what it is that I was doing. But like even in your story, Darren, like how you were searching for it and going to those different places and things like that, like it was always there.
Well, you know, one thing I don't think I've really said on the podcast, I don't think anyway, I actually, because I was in Catholicism, left Catholicism when I was about 14, I told my parents I don't believe in God. My dad nearly died. And then I went soul searching for a while. When I was then 18, I went into the world of Orthodoxy. And then I got baptized Serbian Orthodox at 19. And although I'm a witch, I still honor the fact that I made a choice to be baptized Serbian Orthodox. And I even did a stint as an altar boy in the Orthodox Church. And when I look back on it, it was actually more of that. I think the reason why I was attracted to it is because it's all about the ritual.
I was going to say,
I learned about ritualistic practices. And I love that tamyan, which is this stuff that we have, the myrrh and frankincense resin.
Yeah, like that was,
on the tube.
And you've got the censer and you're
swinging it around. And like, it's making that noise, and they're dinging the bell, and they're breaking the energy and all that. And I was just
the candles are all lit as well at the same time. And it's like, just like.
Yeah, there's just so many parallels between.
Okay, I apologize if I trigger anyone in the Orthodox Church, but you're a bunch of witches. Like what you do is that, no, I shouldn't be telling them what they are, but
that's also
there's no difference.
No, and that's, I think, where having conversations and things like this that we are now, is that's how we, I think, stop that divide so much, is when we start to see that there are actually so many similarities. There's actually way more similarities than there are differences. It's just a little bit of a different perspective on what it is. And that's where we can all kind of listen and learn and be okay with it. Yeah,
educate ourselves. Right. Yeah, definitely. That'd be one way to bridge a gap.
Yeah,
to show all the similarities. Well, I mean,
it'd take a long time, but
it might create a bit of a Grand Canyon at the start.
A bit of a tower moment, a little bit of a tower moment, then we'll ease back out after.
Yeah, because like if we were to go to the Pope and say everything you do is witchcraft.
Oh my gosh, could you be?
Well, it's not.
Maybe not quite to that extreme.
No, not quite.
And I think it's.
I'm not sure we'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they did steal it all. Myrrh and frankincense, please.
I'm like,
witches, please. Myrrh and frankincense was ours, and y'all took it, slapped some golden brass paint on it, and called it freaking Christianity.
That's right.
I've actually listened to a few other podcasts of late, and where they talk about, like, I've actually heard it multiple times over the years, where people are like, oh, Jesus was totally like a witch or a magician or a Reiki healer or all the things that they claimed he did. They're all forms of like paganism or like, you know, touching someone to heal them. I mean, that's the same as doing any form of energetic or Reiki or whatever healing. Like, you know, and yeah. I won't go off on that tangent for too long. Let's just rein it back in again.
Bring that tangent back a little.
Because I know that you've obviously sent us a list of questions that you want us to talk about. So we're going to kind of throw it around the room a little bit and for everyone to just chime in.
Okay.
So I'm going to start off with you, Laurie, though, because you've put in here, what are some of the things that you wish you knew before you started practicing? I'm going to throw it to you first.
I wish I knew before I started practicing. The similarities, I guess, exactly what we were just talking about. The similarities. And that there was an actual such thing, like that there was terminology there to use, that I didn't have to find a way to explain certain things that were happening to me because the terminology were already there. I just needed to adopt it.
I just needed to find it.
So like the terminology as well. Yeah.
What about you then, Vicky? What do you wish you knew before you started practicing?
To actually just practice.
To just practice?
To not be so scared about, like, a little bit like what you were saying earlier of like, am I supposed to do this? Is it supposed to feel this way? Am I supposed to be like this? Oh, what if I do this and then it doesn't quite work? And then
blah, blah, blah. Gemini.
I know, you know I am. You know I am.
Overthinking everything.
Yeah, overthink everything. Like that's literally what I think for me, it really was, is just to do it and to trust in your own sort of intuition and your own ability to, and don't be afraid to learn or fuck up or you know what I mean? Like
it's not like you're gonna bring the world to an end.
Well, you never know. I guess it plays on what you're playing with. No
one's that fucking powerful.
No, that's it. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's like that it's no different than any other aspect of your life that we have to learn. You have to just do to learn, and sometimes you fall and you pick up, and also and again it goes to a little bit what we were saying earlier, like not to stay true to what I believe and don't necessarily instantly adopt somebody else's opinions or conclusions or something like that, because I think that can hold you back a little bit. So know who you are, trust who you are, and just do it.
I guess for me, the takeouts that I would have had is one's very similar to yours, Vicky, in that whole perfectionism. I think that also comes down to the way I was raised, my conditioning, that I had to be a straight A student. It's like if I don't do it perfectly, then it doesn't count.
Yep, it doesn't. It just doesn't exist.
But most of the magic is experienced in the mistakes and in the just by being present in whatever you're doing and in feeling whatever's right to you. And the other takeout that I would have that I wish I knew before I started practicing is that doing one doesn't mean you have to denounce the rest. Like I wish I discovered eclecticism straight away. Because I thought if I'm a witch, then I can't be that. Or if I'm following Wicca, then I can't adopt those beliefs. Or if I'm like honoring the Hindu gods, then I can't, you know what I mean? Every single thing that I stumbled across, and I'm like, oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. I kept, when I move paradigms or move ways of thinking, being, existing, I always felt like I had to denounce the previous. And it's only now that I'm like, why not both?
Yeah.
Why not all of them?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's flip it around on the other way then. And then someone else can do the next question. So is there anything that you're glad you didn't know before you started practicing? We'll start with Laurie.
I'm glad that I didn't know.
If you need to ponder, we can always circle back to you if you're not quite
sure. Or
you
can also say that there wasn't anything, because I'm a little bit that I'm like, I'm not sure, to be honest. Well, I know there's one part of it, but I have a feeling that you're going to mention something about that. So I'm actually, I don't know. I don't think there was anything. I think everything just kind of came as a natural progression, and I'm okay.
Well, for me, I'll just jump in because while you're still pondering, for me, it was 100%. I'm glad I knew nothing about like sex magic.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you right now, as a good little Catholic boy dabbling in the world of witchcraft, if someone introduced me to the concept of sex magic from the get-go, I would have been like, WTF, I have to fuck people to have a connection with source? What do you mean I have to masturbate in order to create power and energy for this spell? Like, because like all those things, like I'm very sex positive now as an adult, but as a teenager, for lack of a better phrase, I was a bit of a frigid, like, because I was raised to be that sex is bad, sex is evil, sex is like masturbation is not done, like all these things that if you told me that that was a part of witchcraft,
be like, no, thank you.
I'd be like, because I would have thought that I would have burnt like for doing it. Yeah. But obviously now I'm like, oh, fuck that. No, I would do whatever I want to do because I'm me and I'm comfortable and whatever.
That's it.
Yeah.
But then you also know that you don't have to do that.
No, I do. Absolutely.
You can, like we were saying, like you can pick whatever path you want to choose.
Yeah. I mean, on that note, though, we are going to do an episode where we specifically dissect that love and sex magic, just for the listeners out there who want to know a little bit more about it and kind of curious but too scared to ask. So we're just going to do it anyway because
do it anyway.
Yeah, it's our podcast and not yours.
Why not?
Do it.
Yeah. So have you thought of something, Laurie? Is there anything that
anything I'm glad I didn't know? I get so engrossed in what you're saying. I just didn't think. But I'm glad I didn't know that tarot is life.
You're glad you didn't know?
Yeah, because discovering tarot has been absolutely mind-blowing, and I've enjoyed it. And if I already knew that, then I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much.
Shameless plug. Laurie's actually one of my current students.
But it's like, isn't there this theme, like everybody that comes out of there, it's like tarot's life. I speak tarot now.
I feel like it's like one of us. I'm subconsciously programming all my students to believe that tarot is life.
See, that's it. I'm going to go back over the recordings now. I'm like, I bet you're starting to put some like subliminal stuff
I don't
there.
do subliminal. No, what do
you do it slap in the face. I'll just tell you.
Oh, well, maybe with the music.
Oh, yeah. Could be.
Does someone else want to do a question?
I do.
Okay, cool.
Okay, go.
I haven't had so the next thing on my horizon, well, not the next thing, but maybe in the next few years, I'm thinking about having kids. And Vicky, how has your craft changed since you having your daughter?
Well, I guess the biggest thing is lack of time and privacy and personal time. That's the biggest one. But no, it actually probably helped me to sort of ground my practice more in the everyday stuff. Move a little bit beyond the ritual and the ceremony and things not that wasn't still a part of it. It definitely was, but it got me to start seeing things a little bit differently in the mundane and how we can actually weave all of these things into just our everyday life. And it's just as magical and just as special as doing it. And so little things we would kiss the moon before she would go to bed and things like that. But that was a way that we would do it's a connection to the moon, and we would see where she was in the sky at different times, and she's growing bigger and now she's growing smaller and stuff like that. It was learning the moon cycles and things like that. But then it also taught me a lot as well. And to watch her, especially when she was little, to watch her and her wonder and stuff in nature and beauty, and you would just begin to see magic in just everyday sort of life a little bit. There's so many beautiful things, and that's how I kind of got into doing crafts at Sabbats and different things like that, because it was a way I could incorporate her into it as well, in something that she would be interested in. So that's why I know how to do corn dollies and all of that sort of thing. We would do those little things together, and again, it was always letting her have the choice as well. I think that's a really big thing that I never, even when we would talk about different things, I would always say, this is just what I believe, and you can learn about whatever you want to believe, and different things like that as well. So I think there was also that little aspect, and we had the solstice fairy that used to come for a little while there as well. And Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing that kind of, I guess, changed, that it just made it. And I'm actually really thankful for it, because it started to, I know we've talked about this a lot of times, like, am I witchy enough and all that, if I'm not doing enough rituals. Am I not
witchy enough?
I was waiting for it.
Is my cauldron broken?
That's it. But like, yeah, that there's so much magic and wonder and beauty and all of that just around us in so many little things and little ways. And yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing that changed.
I love that.
Oh, good.
And see, not that I don't have kids yet, but my kids are on the way. So I guess that's the thing that I'm looking most forward to, partly from your experience, Vicky, but also because, like, having been raised in a way that this is how you have to think and this is what you have to believe in. Like, my husband and I have talked about it, and I'm not going to necessarily raise our children to be witches, but
that's right.
I'm going to involve them if they want to be involved. And then when they're old enough to ask questions, I'm obviously going to be an open book. Like, because I've got things around the house
that's right.
Any kid is going to go, Dad, what's that?
Yeah.
Like, why is that there? Or why do you do that? Or why do you always go in that room and talk to the camera? Well, you know what I mean? Like, let's be honest, this podcast is going to keep going. So, like,
yeah, that's right.
You know, all the little things. Or, Dad, why can't I touch that table in the corner of the room?
Yes.
Like, you know. So I'm going to explain what it all is to them. But
exactly,
it's also like I'm actually excited for that challenge of being able to, like, influence the next generation, but in a way that's still empowering and not telling them how to think or how to believe or whatever. Like, just being an open book and sharing my own personal practice, gnosis, whatever you want to call it, with them.
That kind of answers another question that I had, where how can we show up for, like, what can we do to show up for our future generations?
Well, I think it's exactly that. It's just being a responsible witch is having, like, knowing that it doesn't just stop with us. Like, all the things that we've learned, we need to pass that information on so that the next generation doesn't repeat the same mistakes. Or, like, you know, like, for example, there's this call to service. Like, being a solitary witch, I wish I would have woken up, I guess, earlier, that being a witch by myself is great for personal gnosis and for personal connection to source and spirit and all that stuff, personal practice. But taking it to that next level and doing something of service to someone else is so much more empowering to yourself. Does that make sense? Like using that voice for good, using that ability to help heal and to help inspire and to help motivate and to help waken up so many people's little flames. Like, you know, I didn't mean to use a not Pentecostal reference there, but you know what I mean? Like I didn't mean to use that, but just like wakening up and being that spark that just lights the fire within so many people now. Like that's an ongoing responsibility for everyone that wakes up. It's your responsibility to wake the rest up.
All right.
That's good.
I can own that. I can try that.
And in a way that, and that's my thing, like, in a way that's respectful for everybody's opinion. Like, not, this is my way and you have to, like, you need to wake now and do this.
Don't be a salty bitch about it.
No, like it's just, you know, you always get way further with people if it's just a little bit of information and it's just a nice open conversation and, like, what do you do? What do I do? Oh, cool. Yeah, whatever. And
to quote Mary Poppins, the biggest witch of them all, just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. Like, do a little bit of sweetness.
That's it. And, like, even back to who was it? It was Gandhi, I think. Like, be the change you want to see in the world. So walk your talk, and then that has a ripple effect of people seeing you do it. And that was something, like, with Tay that I always did, is that I didn't hide anything that I was doing from her. I mean, if there wasn't anything that was appropriate, of course I would, but, like, it was just a part of what I did and what she saw me do that. And if she wanted to ask about it, or if she didn't want to do it, then that's cool too. But it was just that, don't hide, I guess, who everything is. Let people
I mean, that's another reason why we started this podcast as well, because so many of these conversations happen behind closed doors between witches or spiritualists or whoever. Even people who sit on the opposite end of the spectrum when it comes to religion and spirituality. Like, these conversations happen behind closed doors, but we wanted to bring it to the forefront. So it's not these secret bitch sessions. It's like we're not bitching, but bitching as in having a very in-depth conversation, out there conversation with each other in a public forum where others can hear it, see it, think it, feel it.
Yeah.
So then we're slowly creating that change or that ripple effect.
That little seed.
And bridging the gap.
Yes.
As well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I see that.
Yeah.
Because it's pointless having these conversations in secret or in silence or in, whatever other analogy you want to use, because those conversations between two people has zero impact on the world.
Yeah.
But when the same conversation between two people is broadcast to the masses, that's when change happens.
Absolutely.
And
I agree.
And I'm not here to try to peddle my own agenda. That's what the gay agenda's for. I'm just kidding. That's what the Alphabet Mafia, that's what we do on weekends.
I love it.
No, I'm joking. No, but in all honesty, it's like, even like, I'm not expecting anyone to agree with anything I have to say. Like, you're only entitled to your own opinion, but it's by me having this conversation with y'all publicly, then it could be that one little thing that you pick up out of this whole thing that might make you question the information you've received throughout your life, that then goes, okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And maybe challenge your own perception a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I'm constantly challenging my own perception.
Yeah, that's right. Like, it's something like, I ask questions and I think people think sometimes that I'm like nosy or weird or something, but I'm just like, I just want to know, like, because I think the biggest thing, like, fear, I guess everything when it comes down to like the divide usually comes down to some form of fear or of one or the other. And fear is only because we don't understand or don't know about what the other thing is. So the only way to combat that is to learn about it and ask, so that you can understand what that other perspective is, or where they're coming from, or what their position is. So it's just like, I want to know all these different things so that I can expand.
It's funny you say that, because that actually, I think I've said this in other episodes, but I know I've definitely said it to you, Vicky. Yeah. My little thing that I always say. So people think love and hate are opposites. They're not. Love and hate are both the same, just expressed differently. They're expressed differently, but they're the same. They're both passionate. Love and fear are opposites. And so in order to take us from a place of fear to a place of love, I've always said that education leads to understanding. Understanding leads to tolerance. Tolerance leads to acceptance. Acceptance leads to unconditional love. So if you fear something, educate yourself on it, and then you're slowly going to move across to love it. And I'm not saying loving it meaning, oh yeah, like,
this is me now, I'm now like, this or whatever.
God, Jesus, Christianity is now my homeboy. Let's go out for a beer. No, it's just like that you can love it and respect it without having to adopt it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I forget that I'm on the podcast and I'm just listening to you two talk. I'm like, I've got my headphones on and everything. So, so I'm forgetting to talk.
You're fine. Is there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah.
What we've said, like, where's that landing with you? Does that answer your question?
It does. It leads me to another question though, and that's because I feel that a big gap in the like what causes spiritual divide, especially at the moment. I don't know if it's always been this way. I'm not sure, because I've only been around for not long. But is cultural appropriation. I feel like that is a topic that's like, it's so, what are the words that I can use to describe? It causes a blockage.
It does. It truly does. Look, we've touched on it a few times, but I mean, me as a cis white male talking about cultural appropriation may trigger some people, but that said, I'm still happy to talk about it. My personal belief on cultural appropriation is this, and it's that all peoples from around the world have appropriated something at some point. That's not to say that it's okay. I think the thing with appropriation, my understanding of it is that it becomes a no-no when the invaders, colonizers, whatever you want to call them, when the people who have then become the majority were not the original intended keepers of that knowledge or that practice or whatever, take it on as if it's theirs and then peddle it out as if it's theirs, but slap their own paint on it. You know what I mean? That's where I think the issue is. And like, so I always say to people, like, it's like, some people said, oh, you shouldn't do certain things because it's culturally appropriated. I said, not everything is culturally appropriated. It depends on the intent at which it's been received and the intent on which it's been delivered. So if I want to learn something from a particular culture, I will go to someone from that culture and learn it from them in a respectful way. And then I will seek permission to adopt the practices that are in alignment with my soul, my being, my essence. Because I personally believe in this concept. Now, I know this may trigger a few people, but I believe I am you and you are me and we are all one.
Yeah.
There's no divide. If you prick me, I bleed with the same blood that you bleed with.
Yeah.
Like, there's no divide.
No.
We only divide ourselves through these socially constructed geopolitical boundaries, religious boundaries, gender boundaries, race boundaries. We divide ourselves as humans, but our essence is one.
Yeah.
So therefore, all knowledge is everyone's when handled with respect and curiosity and openness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I know that I've opened up a massive can of worms right now.
It's so good.
And I know that people are probably yelling at the screen, yelling at their things, saying, you're a fucking asshole and or whatever. Like, you know, but like, this is just my view that we have become so fucking politically correct in today's day and age that we're quick to shame people for taking something that wasn't theirs, but we're not quick to educate them.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's we're just very good to kind of, for want of a better word, punish,
and judge,
but it's never, and that's even beyond this subject as well. That's like a lot of things that come out in society and things like that. We very much like to focus on the negative part of it, and not to say that needs to dismiss that in any way, shape, or form. But the way to move forward is to rectify that. So how do we move forward in a way that's respectful to people? How do we move forward to be able to move beyond this and beyond what it is? And like you said, a lot of it's to do with education and conversations and all of those sort of things in a non-judgmental way, where people are just giving their honest and talk to the people that this is affecting, and those
educate
sort of
yourselves.
Like, it's that education thing, and I think that's just the key to everything. Like, we need to know and understand to be able to do better or do differently or whatever. Otherwise, if you're just sort of punishing somebody and saying, no, you can't do that, it's not teaching them anything.
The reason why has not been established. The reason why has not been established. So that stops any respect.
Yeah.
And I can tell you as a coach that as soon as someone is told they can't have something,
that's all they want.
That's all they want. That's how the brain is. That's how the brain functions.
Hey, that's how my brain, like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, I'm going to give up sugar. That's it. I'm done.
And then all you think is, I want a donut. I want a donut. I want a donut.
I want a cake. I want some sugar. That's all I want. That's all I want. I'm like,
yeah.
I really did the opposite. But it is, it's how the brain works. The more you try to stop something or push it away, a thought, anything like that, it's just going to keep coming up
because
more and
that's
more.
The thing is, the brain as
that's
the
what
universe.
The brain wants to do.
The brain in the universe, your psyche, everything. Because remember, microcosm, macrocosm. Like the brain is a microcosm of the universe, which is a macrocosm. It doesn't think in negations. Your brain doesn't think in negations. The universe doesn't behave in negations. You say you can't have this. It's all it wants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I say to you right now, and I'm going to do this as an actual real life exercise, and everyone sitting, listening, watching at home can participate.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's all do it.
Okay.
Don't think of a pink car. I'm pretty sure that you first have to think of a pink car in order to not think of a pink car, right?
Yeah.
The brain doesn't hear don't. If I say don't think of a tree, you have to first think of a tree in order to then delete it.
No, I need to get rid of that idea.
Yeah.
And what have you done? You've just thought of a tree.
Yeah, because it's one of those things, you can't trick the brain into participating in a negation, because it's like if you say to someone, don't run, they first have to think of running in order to go, oh, wait, no, I can't do that.
I can't do that.
You know what I mean?
Because you have to compute whatever it is.
Huh?
My mind is blown.
This is like, obviously this is, we're delving into the world of like neuropsychology and neurolinguistic programming, all this kind of stuff, but it's the whole thing of that brain that can't think in negation. So everything, that's why I always tell people to think it, frame it in a positive light for you. Or if there's something you want someone to do, positive or neutral. So if there's something you want someone to do, you don't give them the don't do this, you say do this.
And what is it? The whole reverse psychology thing. See, you'll probably learn that as a parent as well. Oh, yeah. That'll come through. The reverse psychology.
I know for a fact that if you give a child or anyone an option of not doing something, they're not going to do it. Like you say, like if you like, I know when I'm a parent, if I say, "Do you want to clean your room?" I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say to them, "You can clean your room now, or you can clean it later."
Pick whichever.
Subtext: either way, you're cleaning your bloody room. I'm giving you the choice of now or later.
That's right. That's exactly it.
And it's the same thing with, like, you know, it's that, I know we've kind of gone off.
I know I was about to say, we've got a tangent. We're going to stop apologizing for that. It's just
it's just who we are. But like what I'm saying, bringing it back to cultural appropriation, it's that whole thing of we're missing a step in this thing. We've gone from one end of the pendulum, we've swung all the way the other way, and now everything is labeled as cultural appropriation. Everyone's being named and shamed for taking something and da-da-da-da-da. Let's just take a fucking chill pill.
Because it also does take away from when it genuinely is, because it everything is just cast under that brush.
And that's why we've touched on it in a couple of episodes now. There's a difference between cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation. Appreciation. So key takeaways: educate yourself, go to the source, learn from someone who the knowledge belongs to or the practice belongs to, ask for permission, and then adapt and evolve and whatever apply. Because there are such things as closed practices, and you have to respect that.
Respect that, definitely.
If it's a closed practice, then don't be a fucking sneaky bitch, sneaky witch.
That's what it is.
Don't be a sneaky witch. Like, if it's a closed practice, it's a closed practice. The end, point blank. And I know that some people are like, oh, but I did an ancestry and DNA test and it says that I'm 0.5% blah, blah, blah. So I'm allowed to do this. No, it's just no.
That's how it works, is it?
No, it doesn't work on there's blood tests don't apply when it comes to when it comes to closed and open practices.
That's it.
They need to be taught to you by someone, and you have to be accepted into the community, and there's all these other things that have to play into that. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting a little bit passionate, aren't I?
No, I love it. Look at you go with all these. Look at with all these mic drop moments. I'm loving it.
I just get very passionate about things that I think when something gets thrown around as gospel, when it's not really how it is, I get really cringy with people when like, don't talk on the matter, but you can't speak in absolutions. You can't apply the same thought process on one thing as you do another. Everything is open to interpretation. Everything is on a spectrum, same as gender is on a spectrum, sexuality is on a spectrum, everything is on a spectrum. Light is on a spectrum, color is on a spectrum, sound is on a spectrum. It's all fucking spectrums.
Frequency.
We don't speak in absolutes because absolutes do not exist, which is the basis of chaos magic.
I was just about to say that we've brought it straight back to chaos.
Are you proud of me?
There you go. Look at that. I love it.
Oh, sorry. Vicky, your turn for a question.
Okay. Or did you want to ask another one, Laurie?
No, you go. I'll go next.
I was just looking through it because I will go by the other one. So I'm going to give one thing that I did want to talk about, and I really enjoyed this question that you sent through as well, is sometimes it feels a little raw and intense. Is it possible to engage in too much shadow work?
Yes.
Or shadow work too often? And so I'll throw this out there to either one of you, whoever wants to answer. I mean, I've got my little thing with it as well, but I think this is a really good thing to talk about because shadow work has become almost like a really
hot topic
at the moment, whereas like a year or two, even a couple of years ago, it was still very much something that wasn't out huge. So I would just love to know either of your opinion on that one.
What was Laurie's question? Do you have a stance on this yet?
Do you have a stance, or are you just looking to know?
I do a little bit, but I don't know if it's the right stance to have on it. I don't know if I'm being...
it's just your personal opinion. It's just what you have felt, experienced, whatever. Because I mean, that's all I'm saying. It's only coming from my opinion. What I say isn't the gospel truth of anything, as we often say. We're not Wikipedia, we're not anything. It is just literally from our experience. And hopefully, like we've said, that something we say might trigger somebody to go look into something further, or we're always open to please let us know if it's completely different from that as well.
Well, I suppose as it's a core principle of chaos magic to decondition yourself. So this is something that I visit a lot, and it feels like a really intense, lonely place.
Yep.
Like
it is.
But you know that it's like, just to add to that, and I don't know if this is going to give you a mini aha moment or not, but when you say it's a lonely place, but your shadow self, psychologically speaking, is your suppressed and repressed parts of you. So it's all you. There is nothing that is hiding in your shadow that wasn't put there by you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
So I like to adopt the philosophy of, I like to dance with my shadow all the time, because the more comfortable you are with your shadow, the more you're able to expand your sense of self. Look, I'm a Cancerian. I'm the master of suppression and repression, which means that I carry the world's biggest motherfucking shadow that exists on the history of human shadows. Just joking. I'm not really, and that's not the claim to fame I want to have. But like, for many, many years, I would just suppress and repress, suppress and repress, suppress and repress, suppress and repress. But there comes a time when everyone picture like a massive closet. If you keep, I didn't mean to use a closet reference, because picture a big closet and you just keep shoving things that you don't like about yourself, or judgments or preconceived ideas or whatever, into this closet. Eventually it's going to run out of room, and the next time you go to open it, it's all going to come crashing down on you. So I always like to use that as an analogy, because you don't want to get to the point where you open the cupboard and it all comes crashing down to be the point that you're inquisitive enough to explore it. Because by then there's a floodgate, and you've just opened it, and the dam has burst, and you flooded the village, and it's all chaos. And no, not to bring it back to chaos again, but it's all just destruction. And you're like, fuck.
Well, shit. What am I going to do now?
Yeah. So for me, it can be very raw, but I always say that as a life coach and as someone who like does a lot of shadow work, because I love living in the shadows. Like, I love just getting in there and understanding myself. I do shadow work daily, personally.
Yeah.
Because I find that the rawest times are when I haven't done it in a long time, because I've had more time to suppress and repress more parts of myself that I didn't have to face. So the more frequently I do it, the less there is in that cupboard to deal with. That's my personal take.
Maybe I'm doing it wrong.
What do you mean?
Because I have not different opinion, but slightly different from that as well, because I think you can do too much too soon.
Oh, and there needs to be a balance, though. Like,
yes.
I mean, because I've cleared a lot of my,
and that's the thing. And I know with what, and it's exactly right that you're doing those little things often. But I think there is nothing wrong with if you go. I think it's like a titration kind of thing that you can go in. Whoa,
that's a big word. A titration.
Titration. Do you like that? Do you
like
that?
So I learned a new word.
Yeah. So this is all like some somatic stuff and trauma release and things like that through Peter Levine. That's where that word comes from. But it's this ability to be able to move into it and be able to move out and move back in, so that there is this level of comfort that you can then find with it, rather than it being just so raw when you go in there and you feel like, oh my God, I'm stuck here, I can't get out of anything.
Obviously, yes. I should have given context that, like, I'm someone that's done the work.
Yes,
like,
that's right.
I would not say to a first-time person going into shadow work, do not do this every fucking day. You are going to melt your brain.
You'll melt your brain.
Not literally, but so it's one of those things that when you've done the massive purge, you then, anytime you go in and you do shadow work, there's then this process of healing that needs to come after it. There needs to be this level of integration that needs to come after it.
Yes.
It's pointless going in, doing a massive shadow purge or a journey or whatever you're doing. You don't integrate any of the learnings from it, and then you go back for round 2.
Yeah.
That's literally like you've just they've thrown you in the ring with a boxing pro. He's punched you to a pulp. You've then come off the ring and they put you back in to fight the next guy. Like you haven't even recovered.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And that's what I think it is. It's sort of that, especially when you're delving at the beginning. And we've also got to remember that some shadows are going to be a little bit shallower and there's some that are going to be deep. There is a reason we've shoved them down there.
Yeah.
And it's not because it's easy. So it's got to be something that's a little bit painful. So we've got to kind of remember, I think, that we're kind of like an onion a little bit. We can, we'll do one layer and then we'll come back out, get ourselves back into a good space, and then we can go back in where we're in a, because if you're not in a really good mentally emotional space and then you go smack bang full force into shadow work, you can start to spiral yourself.
And you can be triggered, like
there, really triggered.
Full transparency.
It's hard raw work. Like it isn't fluffy stuff.
Yeah, full transparency. The first time when I was actually doing my NLP practitioner training, we had to do, we did a 5-day course, then we went back for the master practitioner training and did a 10-day course. So I was immersed in this realm for 15 days, like with a 2-month gap between the two. But on that 10-day cycle, like on the 8th and 9th day, we did a full day purging of all things. That day was so fucking intense that they warned us and said, do not do any life-changing decisions after it. Same thing with Reiki. They said, do not make any life-changing decisions for however long after doing Reiki. Same with crystal healing. Do not do any life-changing decisions after doing crystal healing. There's a level of integration that needs to happen after any form of personal development, because I know for a fact that after coming home from the initial 5-day course where we hadn't ripped all the shit out, I was suicidal. I'm talking not a long time ago. I'm talking 2019.
Yeah.
I was suicidal after first doing personal development because it brought all this shit to the surface that I wasn't ready to face, but I didn't have the tools to deal with it. And I literally remember that I wanted to just think like, fuck this. This is too hard. And I wanted to just end it all.
Yeah.
And I apologize if that's triggering. I probably should have given a bit of a warning. Maybe what we might do is record.
We can do that.
We'll record a little warning and put it at the start of the episode. That and on that note, if you are being triggered by this, obviously there are people that can help you. You can call the suicide hotline, Lifeline.
We'll put
Kids Helpline. We'll put phone numbers and everything because obviously now I've touched on a topic that I didn't think I was going to touch on.
Look at this. We're opening shit right up.
Yeah, because look, shadow work can take you down the scary path. It can. Yeah. That said, I'll also say that don't be scared of it.
Yeah.
It just means have the right support network around you. Make sure that if you are about to do shadow work, even so much so as having a loved one know that you're going to be doing it at a specific time so that if you're triggered and they can touch base with you, you can talk to them, that they're your support network. They're there to listen from non-judgment and just listen to you so you can talk about the things that you've experienced. Or if you don't like talking, journaling it. Yeah. Write it down, all that kind of stuff to just kind of purge and release. And what I always say with any form of shadow work, especially if it's traumatic and it's triggering, be kind to yourself.
Yes. And that's the biggest thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Be kind to yourself. And that's what it is, like, fill yourself back up.
Yeah.
Fill yourself back up after. Allow it to integrate. Be kind to yourself and realize that you're doing the best you can with what you've got in that particular moment. And it's okay to ask people for help, and it's okay to feel that way as well. Like, we often will try hide it and not want to feel that. But I think it's a really big thing. And I think it's really important that we talked about it as well, because I think sometimes it's a little bit treated a little bit
too fluffy.
Yes.
Do some shadow work. Like,
yes. Like, I mean,
it's not fluffy.
No, and it's not. And then that it's also okay when you don't feel like it's fluffy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because you kind of start to think, fuck, what am I doing? Like, I feel like shit. Like, I thought this is supposed to be a big empowering thing that I'm taking back my shadows and stuff like that. And this is where I think, like, you need to hear these people need to hear real experiences, because it's okay if you don't feel okay at that moment.
you all know me, and you know that I always love a good visual reference. So
yes.
I love there was a meme that I saw where people think this is what spiritual awakening is like, and I'm holding up the sun card. But what it really is like, it's really
the fucking tower.
It's the fucking tower card, people. Like, there's no sun shining with little cutesy little babies on white horses and lots of daffodils or like sunflowers. It's a fucking tower that you have to jump out of so that you don't die. Like, you know, so and real again, spiritual awakening is that.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, it's hard work. And again, I don't want to scare people off of doing it because it's such important, beyond important stuff to do. It's just about being aware and going into things with their eyes open and knowing that if you've kind of gone too far, then it's okay to come back from it for a little bit, process it, allow it to integrate. Build yourself back up and then go back in.
But I was going to say that once you feel like you've done the purging, it's about maintenance.
That's it. You need to keep that up. And then being, like you said, like being aware then of perhaps in everyday moments where you can see that starting to creep up a little bit and go, oh, why is that? Why am I triggered by that? Or why is this? So then you start to build that awareness. So then we're not instantly shoving them down. We're kind of catching them before we shove them a little bit.
And it's something that's going to evolve over time too. Like no one becomes an expert at shadow work. Like, but at the end of the day, we are witches. We are shadow workers.
Yeah, that's what we do. We delve into that world, and that's the world we work in. And I think the other thing is to remember that it's a process, and it's probably something that'll go on forever. It's not this quick fix thing. Either. So it's not scary. It's just
thank you so much for sharing. Like, it's really good to
apologies for triggering.
No, it's good. I mean, it's good. It's just authentic. Like,
that's right.
And it is really important.
Yeah, it is. Like I'm glad you sent us these questions through, because this is the type of conversation that I'm glad I'm like it's needed. Like and this is the thing, like, because I always say, because people who are too scared to do shadow work, like your shadow self will manifest in your life. The more you suppress and repress it, the more it's going to manifest. So for example, you're going to be triggered by conversations you have, by people you meet, by behaviors that you observe. You're going to be triggered constantly. And the triggering is because, like, they say that your shadow self is a projection of the suppressed and repressed parts of you. So for example, I get triggered by people that cut people off when they talk. I also cut people off when they talk. So that's why I'm being triggered, because it's something I do that I dislike about myself. So therefore I project that on others and dislike it about them. I also get triggered
and that's a good thing to start with too. Like, that's a really good place to start, is to start to write down a list of all the things you don't like in other people.
Because I guarantee that you can flip around and point the finger back at you.
And it can be something that you're completely unaware of. Like I've doing it, I'm like, no, that's not me. And then I'll like marry off. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. That was crap exercise. That didn't do anything. And then I'll marry off into a conversation. I'm like, oh shit, I just did that, didn't I? And then that's where that little awareness comes to you. And that's where you can kind of like start to dip your toes in a little bit and start to realize and see things. And then if you want to unpack more stuff and follow that down, and that's how it's a really good.
You actually, like, without it, I don't know if you've realized it or not, but you actually brought up a key thing there, which is like when you write something down that you dislike in someone else. Because we did this exercise for the 2020.
Yeah, we did in the
2020 reflections. Yeah,
one of those two.
So when you write down something that you dislike about someone else, and you instantly get a negative charge, you're like, no. That means it's absolutely yes.
It's like a big yes.
The bigger the charge, positive or negative, the more it's you. Because the reason why you're like, no, that's your ego, baby. That's your ego saying, because I don't want to change.
That's it.
I don't want to change.
That's exactly it. Whereas now I can look at things a little bit and I'll go, oh, okay. So where do I do that? Or I can be a little bit more inquisitive about it and a little bit more open to it.
And I say this in coaching. I say this everywhere. Like, it's all about being curious. So you need to have curiosity and non-judgment.
Yes.
Whenever doing shadow work, you have to be curious, but not judge yourself for the things that you've suppressed and repressed.
Yes.
Because if you judge yourself, then you're just adding to that shadow and you're feeding that wolf.
Yeah.
And then one day it's going to come and bite your head off. You know what I mean? So you just so many analogies today.
I know, let's go. I love it.
Was there a follow-up question about the shadow stuff?
Let me check.
I think it was just like what kind of methods.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so obviously,
I guess we touched on a few of them.
We touched on a few of them, but like there's supported and unsupported. So unsupported methods will be things like meditation, journaling, self-inquiry, path working,
ritual work,
all of that kind of stuff. Supported ones are more like facilitated. So you could do counseling, a psychological appointment, working with a life coach, working with a Reiki practitioner, crystal healer, theta healer,
therapist of some
description or healer of some description, because oftentimes they will get stuff that comes to them. So like there's obviously two ways you can go about it, on your own or with a practitioner.
Yeah.
My hand on heart, I would say if you're new to it, maybe do it with someone that's done it before, just so that you've got someone there to support you and guide you, like whether it's through hypnosis or through meditation or whatever it might be. And so that way if things come up, you've got a sounding board that can kind of help you.
Yeah.
But then once you're experienced, don't be afraid to do it on your own. Just, I always say to always have a way out. Like I tell my husband, I've been doing this for over 20 years.
That's it.
I tell my husband, I'm going to go in and do some shadow work. If you don't hear from me in an hour, knock on the door and just come in.
Yeah.
Because I might be having a fucking meltdown and I can't pull myself out of it. And I need him to just bring me out of it and, help me. So like, I still do that because I know when I need to go there. You know what I mean? When I've got some like really hardcore shit, it's usually when I'm like angry and I'm like cracking it at everyone in my life. Like I'm like, oh fuck, what's going on here?
Something's coming up. Yeah.
Shadow work. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Anyway, Laurie.
Cool. Laurie, was there anything else?
I'm conscious of time.
Oh, I'm fine.
I was going to say we're fine.
Oh,
we're fine.
That's fine then. So am I. Okay, so the witch community is growing. As I've just guessed, like everybody keeps saying like, oh, there's so many people awakening and getting involved. More and more people coming out the broom closet every day. This excites me so much because it already seems like there's a huge community already, and for that to grow is like pretty cool. But what I mean, it's hard for me to know what the future of our community looks like because I've not been around so long or whatever. But I want to ask you what you think. As
it the community as a whole, or us individuals?
The future
like,
of it as
witchy,
a whole.
Like the future for witchcraft. What does that look like?
Well, okay. Well, this it's a tough question, but like, okay, so the witchcraft / spirituality community, like the woke community.
Yeah.
I think that each day that goes by, more and more people are becoming more woke. And I know that word gets thrown around a lot these days, but it's like, they're people who are questioning authority, questioning government, questioning everything. Like, because in the end of the day, that's what witches do. We question everything.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying that everyone who's woke is a witch. No. Two separate things. But like, I foresee that we're gradually wakening up. Like, if you look at it, okay, there's so many different ways I could tackle this based on just that 4D, 5D, 6D living thing. Based on that alone, we're awakening and we're evolving and we're lifting, we're vibrating at a higher frequency. And it's like, oh God, now I've just opened another can of worms. So,
I know, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, where are we going?
All of those who wake up are going to go transcend to this new dimension where everyone's awake. And those who aren't woke, they get to stay back in the previous dimension that will coexist somewhere else in a different plane.
Yeah.
Because all places exist at the same time and space anyway, so
we've got so many big tangents today.
But you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, it is. And you're exactly right. I was only giggling because we've like gone completely into like quantum stuff now.
Quantum physics. No, because I honestly truly do believe that as more people wake up and the vibration increases, that we will all transcend this plane to another plane of existence, and that in that plane we will probably evolve as people. And I've heard theories about us no longer needing our physical bodies because we're going to become ethereal creatures. I've also heard, right.
I know.
I've also heard other things about, like, we can keep the physical body, but we're going to evolve into these superhumans like the Atlanteans and Lemurians once were, and da-da-da. Like, there's so many different theories. Am I going to be alive? Probably not, but I can aim to try to be.
Well, you never know. You might
Who knows what's possible? I might just come back again and remember this lifetime, because remember, all lifetimes, well, I say come back, but I may come back, but in the past, like, you know what I mean? Like, because time is a social construct, and
Do you know what's
Oh my God.
Quantum physics were being explored in the 70s, and that's when the term chaos magic were coined.
Really?
Oh.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because I definitely think that quantum physics is the much overlooked topic that all witches should at least have a basic level of understanding. I'm not expecting you to be Sheldon Cooper.
No.
But
we could have fun with flags.
I definitely would. But yeah, no, it's one of the things that quantum physics is so important because it actually affects everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Magic is quantum physics in reality.
Yeah.
Like, you putting it out there and then it's coming back, like, that's the quantum field right there. Manifestation, deity, devotion, all of that stuff is quantum. Like, all of it's connected to the quantum. Past life regression, future manifestation, like literally everything. You're planting it into the quantum for it to happen. Like, every spell that you do, every affirmation you make, every thought you think, you're adding to the quantum of what you want to bring into your reality in that day, week, month, year, lifetime.
And the chaos theory, where a butterfly flaps its wings and causes a
tornado.
Tsunami.
It's all
tsunami. That's it. Yeah,
it's all connected.
Everything's connected. Nothing is.
And I hope we start to remember that.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. I really hope that people start to remember that we are all connected and that there is that connection. And my hope, I guess, for the future is that it becomes more of a community and that it's...
Stop driving wedges between us.
Yeah, like becomes that community without that divide. We embrace everybody's variations and differences and have that open mind, and within the wider community as well, like external of, I guess, the witchcraft occult kind of community and things like that, where it's just start to realize that we are actually connected and that it's okay to be different.
They're all just different expressions of the same thing.
Like, I mean, like, I know I've said it, I'm pretty sure I've said it before. I know I've said it to you, Darren. Like, I always talk about, that was one of my teachers used to say, it's all different paths up the same mountain. We're all looking for that same thing. It's just different ways of expressing it and different ways of doing it. So I guess I hope that's probably more my hope.
I'm the same. I just hope that we can, like, and that's the thing, is it all starts with
learn
every individual. Every single person has a part to play in that. Like, if we want to be the change you want to see in the world, like if you want to have that utopia where everyone is treated with respect and loving kindness and unconditional love and all that kind of stuff, then it comes down to you and the choices you make. Because if we all did, like, thought the same outcome, that's how we manifest it.
Yeah, that's it.
But if you're contributing to the problem and causing divides and being judgmental and giving a higher than thou opinion of self, you're only contributing to the problem as a whole and not contributing to the solution.
That's why shadow work is so important, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's why it's all in there.
Check
and that we
yourself.
Learn, that we remember and learn from the mistakes of the past, or learn from the past. Like, don't instantly dismiss what's happened or what's come before us. Start to learn from it and grow and evolve and adapt on top of it.
100%.
Solution.
Did that answer the question?
Let's go.
I'm just like,
So I know that on that question, you actually had another part to it. What does the future hold? Do we want to go round robin?
Yeah.
Wait, do you want to go first, Vicky?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you know or not yet?
No. Well, I don't know for sure. But I have been kind of toying around with the idea of teaching or starting to do something a bit more. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? Because
your soul knows. You signed the contract before you were born.
I know. But in reality, if you'd asked me, would I be doing this podcast this time last year?
You better say, hell no.
I would have laughed at somebody that had even said that. Like, it's so far, so you never know. That's the thing. I'm open to whatever's going to be coming in the future.
So if there's anyone looking for a teacher,
yeah, maybe
you heard it here first. She's eager to teach, so
yeah, maybe
just send us a message.
That's it.
So for me, well, as most of you know, I've received my emails from the Dean of the Mystery School for the Temple of Witchcraft. So my short-term goals is to obviously do Witchcraft 1 and then Witchcraft 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. I would love to venture down the route of being at service to the community, working one of the ministries of the Temple of Witchcraft. And I mean, if I'm able to, I would love to get ordained as a minister in the ministry of Sagittarius to be able to teach other people witchcraft. Like, I'd love to be able to do that. So Christopher Penzak, if you're listening, that's my goal.
Let's drop that seed there.
Let's drop that seed. I'm putting it into the quantum. I'm going to see as if it's happening now. We're going
to be manifesting.
What does it see? What do I see? What do I hear? What do I feel? Okay, good. It's done. And yeah, so that's short-term goals. I say short-term, but 7 years. It's like short-term goal. Long-term goals. I've now, through this podcast, I've learned that I have a voice. I no longer need to complain about my throat chakra to my doctor. I've learned that I have a voice and I know how to express it for the betterment of others.
Yeah.
And I want to leave a legacy. Like, I would love for us to be able to pass this podcast on to someone else, the next generation in the future, for them
to keep running it.
And to evolve it to that next level. And so that in 50 years, no, we will still be alive then. Okay, in 150 years, there's still someone going, what up, witches? Welcome to the podcast. Da, 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 da.
And it's like, hi, how are you?
Yeah. We have to have a token Vicky and a token me. Or you never know, we might have come back in the next lifetime to do it again.
It might already be us.
But anyway,
can keep going.
I love it.
But so there's that side of things. But then there's also, like, I mean, for me, children is the next phase of my life.
Yeah.
So this time next year, I will hopefully have our first little one, and so that's going to be a whole new chapter of learning to inspire the next generation, like in my own realm, but also outside of that. Like, so I mean, I've got a lot of other plans, but they're all kind of like, I do want to be more active in the community. I've just been a bit hesitant because the community, from my experience, hasn't been as easy open to, it's a little bit inaccessible and it's a little bit cliquey, and I kind of still don't quite feel like I fit in.
Yeah. There's some things like I try and like edge towards meeting people and being in like a social situation, like a social gathering with the community. But I get worried that, like, I mean, I guess there's things out there that I probably don't know about, and like not everybody's got good intentions. Like,
no, that's it.
Is there any like red flags that you would?
You don't have to have sex.
Yeah.
There is nothing in there.
No, actually, even less than that. Like, you don't have to do anything. If you do not want to, you do not have to. Because in the end of the day, we're witches. We live by our word, and it's our will. So if it's not in alignment with your will, then
don't go there.
Give them the bird. Like, no one can make you do anything that you don't want to already do yourself. Or if they're trying to, then walk away. I think it's
yourself.
Trust your own intuition.
Feel that where something feels a bit uncomfortable, or it doesn't quite feel right, or it doesn't align with you, then trust that and move back out of it. Perhaps chat to somebody that's outside of that to like bounce some ideas and things off. Like, really trust yourself.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but a bird is just...
Is that what it was?
Door.
Yeah, I heard it. Oh, what kind of bird was it?
I think it was a laughing dove. Do you know one of them?
Oh,
Grey blue.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I know, isn't it?
It's the apocalypse. No, just kidding.
Apocalypse. Happening.
There, red flags.
Yeah.
I would say, and also, same goes for us. You can apply these same things to us and what we say. Like, no one is for lack of a better word, a guru.
Yeah.
Like, just anything that someone says is their own personal gnosis. Don't take anything that's said as verbatim or as gospel. Do your own research. Be inquisitive. Like, obviously listen to people's opinions, but like, I think when it comes down to finding a spiritual teacher that resonates with you, or like, a community that resonates with you, you don't have to agree on everything.
Yeah. No. That's true.
Just approach it with curiosity and with respect and non-judgment.
Yeah.
And you might meet someone and go, you know what? Not my cup of tea. I can agree to disagree with you and walk away.
That's it. And that's okay. And to be really informed, like ask questions. It's okay to ask questions, what their general expectations and their general practices and things like that are. And same thing, like if it's not aligned with who you are or what your practice is, then that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay not to, and to not get caught up into that either, that you follow on with the group.
Yeah.
Does that kind of answer that whole red flag thing? Yeah. Like, but as I said, be inquisitive and be open to this, because that's how you learn. You learn through community and through sharing ideas. There's only so much learning that you can do by self, and I'm speaking from experience there, because I was a solitude practitioner for so long, and I relied heavily on all the information that was in the books, and I made, if it was in paper on print, it must be true. And here we are. Now I've realized, no, the books are a good guide, but they're just people's opinions that have been printed on paper.
Yep. And that's it.
Yeah.
And to remember that, I think as well, that taking on and being a teacher is a sacred role.
Yeah.
And it should be treated as such as well. Like, not just that it deserves respect, but that they also need to take on the fact that is a very sacred role.
Which is why when I teach tarot, I'm constantly telling everyone, like, this is just my interpretations that I've learned. You may interpret it differently.
Yeah.
Like, nothing's set in stone.
Set in stone, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Awesome.
I'm just trying to think. Did we
cover
them all?
Everything.
Yeah, we got that one.
I think we did. Oh, journeying. I think that was.
Oh yeah.
That's the only one we've missed.
That's it. That's all we missed.
So I've had a little look into shamanic practices. And I've looked at various different books, listened to a few different podcasts. And there's and I know that this is something that intrigues both of you as well. So the thing is, I find myself getting frightened to journey because some people say that you have to learn how to trick entities. Yeah. And you've got to protect yourself, find your way back and all that. And it feels really complex for me. Yeah. Like, have you journeyed before?
Yeah, I have. I've done it quite a few times, and I've done lots of different path working and journeying. They're very similar and that sort of thing. But I think there's a lot of people that like to scare the absolute shit out of you and say that everybody's basically trying to get you. And then there's a lot of people out there that'll say that everybody loves you and wants to help you. And I think the truth is somewhere in the center. Yeah. And I think it's like taking it slowly, starting at the start and then expanding. Like, don't jump straight into something deep and whatever. Like, start to take it a little bit slowly, and treat it almost like how you would outside, like just in the mundane world. Like, you do different things that automatically put you in a good space. So like, you look before you cross the road, you listen, whatever, like you can get hit by a car. We all know that there's always that threat, but you do these different things to help put you in the best possible space for it. Like, you don't necessarily go walking in a dark alley in perhaps an area that's by yourself, perhaps in an area that's known for violence and muggings and all of that kind of stuff. Like, it's just those little things. So it's the same with any journey work or meditation and things like that. Do whatever it is that you do for your protection or your different kinds of things. Go into it again, that open mind, learn about it. Find the particular people that you kind of resonate and maybe hear things that they do and then expand. And don't be fearful of it, because I think that breeds that kind of stuff to attract it a little bit as well. But
that lower vibration.
Yeah. And I think, and I mean, saying that, don't just go in brazen, it's going to be fine. But like like with everything, have that awareness, go in with those open eyes.
Yeah.
Put yourself in the best position to go through it. You know, one of the great things is like use a timer and things like that so that you don't go for too long and you don't kind of wander and get lost somewhere. Or if you work with guides or particular deities or whatever kind of protection, bring them in and ask them to help and all of that kind of stuff. So I think, it's that the reality is somewhere in the middle. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, give it a go. You'll be fine. And like I said, just start little things like there's lots of great podcast things on YouTube, or even I think I've said it in our meditation one, Insight Timer has lots of great meditations and things like that on there. And there is a lot of journey work and things like that on there. So there's maybe particular teachers that you enjoy. So start with those kind of things and then build up as you build your confidence. Go on those deeper kind of journeys. It'll be fun. Did that help?
It did. Thank you.
I'm just gonna say what she said. No, in all honesty, same, like echo all the things.
Yeah.
So for me, whenever I do any form of journey work, because I as you know, I talk to my guides regularly.
Yeah.
Regularly. I almost talk to them more than I talk to Vicky. Probably, yeah. Well, maybe the same. Because we talk daily. But like my guides, whenever I'm going to do any form of journey work, I always ask my guides to be there. Now, if guides aren't your thing, maybe if spirit guides aren't your thing, maybe it's God, maybe it's Jesus, maybe it's the angels, maybe it's whatever it is.
Yeah, different gods, goddesses,
that
deities,
you trust.
whatever. Yeah.
Just give it a command. They will always say yes. They're ready to help.
Crystals. If you work with crystals or plants or things like that.
Just give it a command. I'll say, hey, precious, I would like you to protect me on this journey that I'm about to do in spirit form, and I'll keep it nearby. Like if you feel better by casting a circle and creating a physical boundary, do that. If you feel better by having crystals surrounding you in a little grid, do that. If you feel better playing a particular incense, do that. I like guided journeys or guided meditations where they kind of guide you in, you explore for a bit yourself, and then they guide you out.
Yeah,
that's my preference. Doing anything that's like no guide freaks the bejesus out of me. Because of the fact that I like, if I don't have someone pulling me out, I get anxious. What if I get stuck there? And I know that that's physically not going to happen.
Unless I find I fall asleep.
Yeah. And if you fall asleep, then that's okay. That just means that you needed sleep more than you needed to journey.
Yep. Or whatever that particular thing was that you were looking for or journeying for. Perhaps you're not quite ready for that at that point.
Yeah.
You don't need it at that moment.
And not to open up another can of worms about the quantum, but technically speaking, when you sleep, you go into the quantum and you're doing it anyway. You're just not remembering it. That for every microsecond you blink your eyes, you've journeyed somewhere and back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Do it. Or if you're worried, set a timer. That's what I like with your phone. Set a timer so you don't get lost there and it all. You can get some nice little dingy ones that are not like a weird alarm.
I dance to my alarm in the morning.
Yeah, see, that's it. You can have some nice music that starts to play or something, or get somebody to knock on a door after however many minutes or whatever.
And I'm like, no, I'm in the good part.
It's like, this is it now. I made it.
But I honestly think journeying has there's nothing to be scared of with journeying. People just like to scare the fuck out of other people. And to me, that's just another form of like elitism that, you know, it's just a way of pushing people away from certain practices because they're trying to scare them. Or like saying that you have to be a witch for a certain amount of time before you do that. Or you have to be, you know, a certain belief system before you can do that. Or you have to have read this many books before you can do that. No, don't tell me what I need to do before I need to journey. I can journey whenever the fuck I want to journey.
Yeah,
like if you feel the calling to journey. Just obviously do your research and
take it slow. Go from the little bits, keep and building and building and building and building, and that's what it is.
Because I know like a lot of people disagree with how I journey. I journey in the bath. Because I'm a water sign. I need to be immersed in water in order to journey. But people say like, but what if you fall asleep? You could drown. No, I take safety precautions to make sure that can't happen.
Well, look, I can do it in my bath. It's tiny. There's no way I'm drowning in that.
Oh, mine's nice and deep.
I know you've got a big, huge bath. I'm so jealous.
I don't have a bath.
Oh, so you're even worse than me. So
I miss my bath.
I know.
You could always just get one of those blow up kiddie pools and just. No, I'm a water sign, so I like to be.
Yeah, that's it.
I like to journey there. The only time that I don't journey is when I'm alone in public.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like the idea of journeying by the wetlands at my estate, but being in a journey when some random stranger can come up and touch me, because this is the thing, coming out of journey, you need to come out of it slowly.
Yeah.
There are certain things that are known knowns, and that's that you can't just snap out of a journey. So if someone touches you, like you can snap back into thing and you feel discombobulated.
You're gonna have to Yes, I love that word.
Yeah, you become discombobulated and just feel all kinds of weight. That I don't feel like I'm in the right place.
Yeah.
And like your centers are out of alignment. You just feel really frazzled. Like, because I've had someone who had to pull me out of a journey once because I was in a crystal grid. It was during my crystal healing training, and I was in a crystal grid and they took me under. And then I was in there and I went too far in. I was supposed to observe, but I actually lived the lifetime again in my psyche, and I was living a traumatic experience. And they told me, they said, I'm going to pull you out. I'm going to have to touch you. Because they tried to call me back and I wasn't coming back. Yeah. And I was like physically shaking, sweating in a cold sweat, like shivering. And I was like hyperventilating and I was like traumatically spasming. I don't want to scare you, but
I was going to say, what do you do? Don't tell them.
These things were happening. These things were happening. And then the person, but luckily, like I did this with a practitioner because this specific journey was a past life regression. And but I wasn't regressing to observe. I regressed into it because it was particularly triggering. And I couldn't pull myself out of it. They were calling me out of it. I wasn't coming back. So they literally told me, I'm going to have to pull you out. You're going to feel a jolt. I'm going to count you down in 3, 2, 1. And then they touched me. As soon as I had that physical sensation on my body, I jolted back in. I literally shook like crazy. I then gasped for air. I don't know where the fuck I thought I was, but it wasn't in that body. And then they said, I'm going to leave you for a moment. And they put a blanket on me. They said, just lie here for a moment until you feel back to yourself. So they put a blanket on me because it was in shock, essentially, because the particular lifetime that I, again, don't want to trigger anyone. I'll be putting the links for Lifeline and whatnot. But the particular lifetime that I went back to is one that I was being killed. And I was reliving my death as if it was real.
Yeah.
And that's why I was so traumatized by it. And I didn't know how to pull myself out of it because in that lifetime I ended. So how do I come back from
that's it. Where am
death?
Yeah.
So I was like, I didn't know where the fuck I was, but anyway, I like, cause I don't know in this waking state where I went.
Yeah.
But I just knew I didn't know how to get back because my life in that lifetime had ended and that was it. Cause in hindsight, they probably should have pulled me out before I got to the death part, but they didn't know that that's how quickly I was going to go there because you can't control time when you're under. We thought we were just exploring, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm now being killed. Okay, great, cool, we're here. So again, not to scare you or anyone else. But that's why I say
past life stuff is one of those ones that can be really like you can get stuck.
I always say to do a past life regression with other people. Someone.
Yeah, always do that.
I now do them on my own, but that's because I know how to. And my guides, they know if I tell them, if you detect something that's not for my highest good, or you think that I'm going too far under, I instruct them to pull me out. And they will literally just come and they drag me out of it.
Yeah.
Because I have that trust with them.
Yeah.
Because they know that if they don't do as I ask, then all hell will break loose when I come out of it. You said you'd be there for me.
But then you set yourself that trigger. Set yourself kind of like when you start to do it, set that trigger. Like if it is, you're going to use an alarm or something that you say that when I hear that, that is my cue to come back, and you set that kind of intention, or you set that as at the beginning. And like you'll find if you want to do it to different tracks and things like that, a lot of them, like if you do like a drumming one or things like that, they'll have different beats, and that's what it's for, is that different beat is to
the slow one is to get you in, and then you hear the fast one to come out and whatever.
No, it's the opposite. The fast one, fast one gets you in, and then you start to hear the slow one, and that's the trigger to let you know that it's time to retrace your steps retrace your steps and come back. And so use the different beats to come back. So find what works for you as like a trigger to come back. And so that's where you can set that intention so that you will come back when you hear it.
I got to say, wow, what a fucking journey this was.
Wasn't it? Charles!
Holy but Jesus. I mean, I feel like this is almost payback because Vicky and I have kind of taken a couple of weeks off.
We just like, let's bring it all in.
Let's do everything. We're covering all topics. Nothing is off out of question.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize.
It was great. It was great. I've had an amazing time. It's fabulous.
Yeah, because these are topics I never even thought we'd ever touch on.
No.
Some of them. Like I wouldn't have thought to go in this angle. So it's good to like having, someone who has come to the table with some questions. And like, whilst you sent us the questions, to be honest, I didn't really I skimmed the email, but I didn't read the questions because I wanted it to be organic.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to be premeditated and this is what I'm going to say. I just kind of skimmed over. Oh yeah, I'm happy with all of those. Like I can talk about each of those, that kind of thing. But no, this has been great. So thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me and thank you for spending this time with me.
Of course. Have you enjoyed it?
Spending this time together for all of us.
Yeah.
I really have. I really loved it.
And thank you for introducing our listeners and us to chaos.
Yes. I love it.
Yes.
I'm a fan now.
In all honesty, this episode was pretty chaotic because
it was. Yeah. We probably embodied.
We had no idea where we were going to go. Like, did I know I was going to talk about suicide and death?
Are you proud of me though? That like, to like plan it?
Oh yeah. Like for those that don't know, being the Gemini, like, yeah, Vicky normally like every episode has got like pages of like written down things to talk about in what order. We didn't need it today.
Didn't need it.
Embrace the chaos.
See?
Yes.
That's it. Embrace the chaos.
So hopefully you all enjoyed that episode. I hope you did. I'm gonna post it as one long ass episode. And but feel free because I'll have to do with this one the timestamps for each.
Yeah, for different topics.
On YouTube, I'll find that way where you click it and it goes to that part or separates it into tracks. Or I'll get creative with it. Okay, witches, I'm gonna get creative. I'm a tech geek. I can work this out. Because I think I might do that. So then that way, if people want to fast forward to the next part of the episode, they
can, and we can do that still in like the podcast part as well.
Yeah, look at me go with a new idea.
See, look at this. We're bringing up all these ideas and stuff. We've got everything going today.
New and improved Witchin Bitchin 2.0.
Love it.
But anyway, so have an amazing day. Thanks once again for coming on the show. I hope you all enjoyed this. Much. If you want more of this kind of content with chaos, let us know.
Let us know. We're embracing chaos now. It's all good.
Yeah. Well, have a good day, everyone.